find this computer. There we go. All right. So I'd like to introduce Aaron Redshaw. He grew up in rain-soaked Oregon, but moved to sunny California soon after high school, in his own words. He's had many jobs over the years, but was a high school English teacher for 15, and for almost a year now, he's worked for Amazon as a technical programmer. He is married, has 2 teenage boys, and lives down in Santa Cruz. And he's also, I believe, the treasurer for the Silicon Valley chapter as well, and is working towards getting some events off the ground to help more people get into the field and work on getting into technical writing. So without further ado, everybody, Aaron Redshaw.
You know, I kind of feel like I should be going up on a game show right now with that intro. But thank you very much. I appreciate it, Rachel. So it was really helpful to me, by the way, to hear everybody's intro and elevator pitches and such, because I now see that I'm going to have to take as much as possible a shotgun approach here, because we have really experienced people. We have people who have been programmers for years. We have people who are trying to start from scratch, who already have jobs, just all kinds of things. And so I'll do the best I can, but yeah, let me just get moving here. Okay, so I like ninjas, so this is kind of a coding ninja, I guess, on this page. Let's move along. This is a very cool quote. Okay, so I'll just read it. From Calvin Coolidge, right, 30th president. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful man with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. It's really that first phrase that caught my attention. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. This was actually sent to me in an email from somebody at Adobe after I tried to, I'd sent in a resume, was rejected. I asked for more information. I know somebody who works there, and most of the email was not too helpful. Some of it was discouraging, but this one line, I took this one line and I said, now that's something worth remembering. The most important thing here is persistence, to not give up, to keep working towards this. I'll tell you more of my story in a minute, but first let's go into who I am. And I can't say who am I without putting Iron Man, because that's, if you've seen the first movie, who am I? I am Iron Man. Okay, Aaron K. Redshaw, technical programmer writer. That's just a technical writer that knows some code. Okay, I'm not a serious programmer, but I know enough code that one person I knew would call it being a technical writer. So kind of emphasis on the technical side of things. The department I'm a part of is Devices, Research, and Education, DRE, I call it for short. And I'm part of the Lab 126, part of Amazon in Sunnyvale. Although I have never been to work, I was onboarded from home, and I've been home ever since. So I got in and saw that my desk was there, but that's about as far as it goes. My main focus in Amazon is on Fire TV and Fire tablets, especially Fire TV. Most of the work I do, so all the documentation that deals with Fire TV on their website, I do that. I've inherited most of it, but I've been adding to it. So let's move on here. Let's start with I'm going to actually start with some advice before I even get further. And I'm actually going to give you my story in just a minute, but starting advice, it goes like this. Reject unhelpful advice. Now, I mean, that seems silly because I'm giving you advice, but the reason I say this is because when I was looking for work as a technical writer, I got all kinds of advice. Sometimes it would even be, people where I sent in a resume and they'd say, hey, good try, but, and they give me some advice. Sometimes it was specifically advice I solicited. It was in places like Write the Docs, Slack channel, which I'll mention more later. But some of the advice was really pretty bad advice, I would say. mostly in that it was not helpful. It was just a very discouraging. So let me give you some examples of that. This is one of them. If you cannot read the code and figure it out like a real developer, you're not cut out to be a tech writer. So I got that. That was from Write the Docs, actually. I got that. And here's interesting. When I was, so before I worked at Amazon, I was working through expert support there. I was working for Google, and I was there for a year and 2 months. Well, so I got to befriend a guy there who was a developer, programmer, and as we're talking, he said, "Yeah, he said, I'm new as well." He had just started there from Samsung. He had been at Samsung for 9 years, been a programmer at Samsung, and so he was a very seasoned developer. But now that he was working at Google, he said, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on." He said, "They don't expect you to know what's going on for the first 3 to 6 months, because it's just too much. You just wade in the code and try and figure out what is going on here." And that's a professional developer. So it is really hard to read the code and figure out what's going on, unless they have like terrific notes and you can just use those. Oh, well, I'm going to move on here. Another one. I love this one. Just so don't go for the money, just follow your passions. I hate that. I mean, really, because seriously, one of my passions is to eat. See, I like the idea of being able to feed my family. My kids are going to be going to college soon. I would like that to be able to happen. So I think really you need to be able to marry the two together. Yeah, you have to be able to have, it has to pay enough, and it has to be something that hopefully you enjoy somewhat. Okay, moving on. Oh, wait, no, go back. Oh, well, I mean, one more. I have to go into 2 more. I went too far. Can I do that? Yeah. The next one, just work your way into a job from your current company, which is not always possible. So that's, they'll say that. But this one is really, really frustrating. Why don't you just go back to teaching? Go back to the job that you were in before. It's like, yeah, no, that's not a thing. I'm not doing that. And they didn't know the whole story, but I couldn't. I'll get into all that in a little while. Why not? But that was just not helpful. Okay. The next is be a collector of success stories. The Reddit group, there's the URL right there, but I'll actually, at the end of this whole presentation, I will just put in the chat a URL that'll have, it's basically a Google Doc with every link that I mention up here, every resource I talk, it's all listed out. It's a little over 5 pages of resource. So I'll send that to you at the end of this whole thing. So you don't need to like take screenshots or copy this down, but the Reddit group, very cool. And if you go there, the first thing you have to do is it says, hey, before you start, posting questions or anything, read this. Make sure you do that, because basically they take the most important technical writing questions that people have and they summarize all of the things that you probably are already wanting to ask. So I would definitely check that out. But one of them is people will say, oh, this is how I got into tech writing. This is how I got into tech writing. And really, really helpful, because the thing is, I'm going to tell you my story. And for some of you who are trying to get into tech writing, that's nothing like your story. And so I might have some things that will be useful anyway. I hope I do. But the truth is that you'll want somebody who has some kind of similar background, maybe, because they will be able, their story will probably be more helpful to you than mine. And collecting those stories is really helpful. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah. Don't do it alone. STC is really good. These kind of groups, especially when we can meet in person, it's really nice because, again, you don't feel like you're totally alone in this. The reason I joined STC, the reason was because I wanted a job as a technical writer and I didn't know any technical writers. So I just wanted, to know, hey, do you guys have jobs at your place? How did you get into it? I wanted to have people to ask those questions to. So STC was really super helpful for these kinds of groups. Okay, let's go on. My story. I'm going to try to do this a little quicker because I realize I'm so going to run out of time if I don't hurry. So I heard there was at least one teacher, maybe two teachers in this group here. So I was a teacher for 15 years, English teacher. The thing is, turns out I had an autoimmune disease, which almost wiped me out. Got to the point where the last year of teaching, I would go through like my first class or two, and then we have like, an hour break, my prep period. I would have to sleep on the floor. Usually 3 out of 5 days, I'd have to sleep on the floor, and then lunchtime I'd have to sleep on the floor, and then break time I'd have to sleep on the floor, and that's just to get through the day. And I did that for my whole last year of teaching. So it was getting worse and worse, and then they finally decided after that, it's like, oh, now we're going to give you the remedial kids. It's like, I can't do that, and I tried to talk about it, but I said, I've had issues, but they're like, nah, we're going to give you this. So basically, I'm like, I'm going to have to resign if you do that. And they said, we're going to do it anyway. And so I said, here's my resignation. So that's kind of how that went. I was done with teaching, couldn't do teaching anymore. High school English teacher, East Side San Jose. I had the gang kids. It was, a rough neighborhood, but I really liked it. I loved it, except for the times when I didn't. The stress, there's a lot of stress as a teacher. So anyway, I was out of work, needed a job. These are things I did. Indeed, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, Monster, a whole bunch of random recruiters that just reached out from nowhere. It was a terrible idea. Don't do that. Don't make my mistake. They're still calling me. I got a call today. You're constantly getting emails, and they're not going to get you a job. They are, as Andrew Davis is fond of saying, basically they're taking your resume and they're just throwing it against the wall, hoping it sticks, because they don't know anybody over there. They're oftentimes not even in the state that they're trying to get to a job for, and get this, they have no idea what the cost of living is around here oftentimes. So I had one recruiter's like, oh, hey, I got this thing maybe you could get into. It's $22 an hour. I said, so what you're saying is you want me to be homeless while I'm doing this job? That's what you're saying. You say the goal is to be homeless. It's like, yeah, you don't have any idea what it costs around here to live. That's not going to work. So bad idea. Good idea. I met Andrew Davis, who's on this call, Synergistic, Paul Gustafson, Expert Support. They helped immensely. Okay, seriously. Andrew Davis, who never really made any money off of me, really helped me a lot. I mean, he has resources on his website. He talked to me a lot. We went exchange emails back and forth. He just gave me leads and ideas and so much help. Paul Gustafson really went on a limb and actually got me a job finally at Google, of all places. And he really had to push for that. I mean, he really did. He pushed and pushed, said, no, you don't understand. This is somebody you need to take seriously. And they finally did, even though they kind of didn't want to. So I'm telling you, guys like this, amazing, really, really helpful. And it is a good way to get started, because the hardest thing in the world is getting the first job. So, okay, I started attending STC. I made some connections, heard stories, got ideas. Like I said, that's a good idea. I started applying to companies directly. Well, that was a better idea. I applied to over 300 companies. So 300 rejections. And then I also created a plan of study. I will talk about that in detail later. Plan of study mostly had to do with resume, LinkedIn, portfolio, website, and how to go about really beefing those things up. I got placed at Google through Paul Gustafson. Like I said, I was there for a year and 2 months. And then I started interviewing other places, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and a bunch of other places. And finally, Amazon hired me. Yeah, been at Amazon for 11 months now, a little over 11 months, and they seem to like me. So I guess that's where I'm staying. Moving on. Some advantages I had, because we're not all in the same boat. I had some advantages. One thing, I was seriously desperate. That was an advantage. To me, that was an advantage. So my wife, she had a job, but it was really a kind of a low paying job. And I was the one expected to, make the most money, and that's fine by me. But I was seriously desperate. I didn't have a job. During that time, I was, for a while, I was very stressed out. I did two things. I prayed hard and I worked hard because I have no idea what I was going to do. But as soon as I did some searching around, what can somebody do with an English degree that pays well? And the first thing that came up is technical writing is the thing that pays the best. Remember, I also wanted to eat. So pays the best. And I thought, well, I love technical stuff, so this might work. Two, I had some time and I had some money. The thing is, I had money in the bank, and so I was going to be okay for a while. So I had the time, had the money for at least, you know, a good period of time. I would have made it for quite a while. So that's good, an advantage not everybody has. I had all day, every day to work on this, no other job. And I had some tech background. Let me tell you a little bit about my tech background. So I used to do technical support for a web hosting company. That was before the .com whole thing blew up. It was the thing I did right before I got into teaching. And I loved it, totally loved it. So things I knew, I used to know Linux, and then I forgot. I used to know a little bit of Java programming. I just enough to where I created one program, put it out there, open source, and that was cool. I kind of Frankenstein that thing together, but got it to work. But then I forgot because that was 15 years ago. But the thing I did not forget is I had some web development background, not the really techie side stuff, but I could make a basic website with some different things. So I had some of that background. I loved tech stuff. Moving on. So a useful mindset. And yes, Shakespeare will make sense in this in just a moment. First thing, I really truly believe I can learn just about anything with enough repetition. In fact, most people can. That's all it just takes. It just takes enough repetition. If I go over it enough, I will eventually understand it. That really believing that about myself was a huge advantage. And kind of a corollary to that is I'm able to suspend confusion. And what that means is the ability to remain confused without giving up long enough to learn something difficult. Now, let me tell you how Shakespeare gets into this. See, I learned this when I was in college. It is probably the most useful skill I ever learned in college because being an English major, I took a Shakespeare class. Shakespeare is really hard to read. So I read Shakespeare almost every night for homework for a month and a half without understanding what I was reading, mostly. But after a month and a half, I remember sitting on a couch and realizing, whoa, I understood that paragraph. And I kept reading. I'm like, I get this stuff. I think I understand like 80% of what I'm reading. And as I was going, I realized, it was weird. I just had to go through this period of time of not really getting it, but slowly putting pieces together until it started to really make sense. So Shakespeare kind of helped me in that. And so I would say you can all do this. Next, here is a series of unfortunate truths. That's supposed to be from a series of unfortunate events, that picture, by the way. So series of unfortunate truths. And I have a couple of blog posts on my website about this, so you can read more if you want. But first of all, experience is king when it comes to getting a technical writing job. They want somebody with experience. Companies are hesitant to give you experience if you don't already have it. That's a problem, right? You have to have the experience to get the job. They won't give you experience unless you've already had a job. We have a problem here. So there's a disconnect. Andrew Davis and I went back and forth a lot, trying to hash out how can we solve this problem. I'm sure he does that with a lot of people. Okay, so I'll talk about what you can do a little later, or at least what I did. Second one, technical skills trump writing skills. This is just sad, but it's totally true, that writing skills are really undervalued in technical writing even. And to the point where, I did whole interviews and they saw a writing sample, but many interviews, they didn't ask one question about writing. They didn't care. They wanted to know, what are my tech skills? Can you read this programming language? Tell us how you would interpret this. How would you, everything was technical. They didn't even care about my writing skill hardly. So, I suppose the only hurdle was that they, read something I wrote once and said, oh, that's good enough. But really, technical skills, that's the big thing. Now, granted, if you really struggle with writing, you want to, take some writing classes or practice or whatever, but the technical skills are the kind of the hard part to get you in. And with that, I'm going to show you a cartoon. See, I mentioned passion before. I just liked this one. I read this a while back. I thought it was hilarious. So if you know about Wally, the guy with the 2 coffee mugs, he's always drinking coffee. That's what he does all the time. He says, I'm double mugging because I heard that passion is necessary for success. By 4 p.m., I'll be so passionate, I'll be dating my chair. Nothing about that sounded right. So I just like that. But that was just to kind of break up things. I am going to answer 2 questions before you ask them. Okay? So, oh wait, what was I going to say here? Oh yeah. Next, answers to a couple of questions. I need to look at my time because I am seriously, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to answer some questions before you ask them. Should I get a certificate or degree in technical writing? The answer is yes and no, or yes or no, or whatever, but starting with no. If you want to get the job, if you're just trying to get the job, pretty much nobody cares. If you have a writing degree, or specifically, if you have a technical writing degree or a technical writing certificate, mostly nobody cares. I've run into lots of people who've said that that's the case. Somebody that they hired at my company as a tech writer right after I did, she's actually the only other tech writer in my department. She said the same thing. She said nobody ever asked or cared about a technical writing certificate in any interview she ever had. And it's the same for me. But if you need the skills of research, content management, information architecture, concise writing skills, like some of those really like, the writing side of things and the research and those things, then that might be a really good way to go, taking classes or whatever. Matter of fact, let me give you an example, okay? Because of some people who were on the call here mentioned that you have a programming background. So when I was at Google, my manager there, she had been a programmer for 15 years before she became a technical writer. She could not get a job as a technical writer. She said they wouldn't hire her because they just thought, well, you'll get tired of this and you'll go back to programming. So the only way she could prove she was serious was she got a certificate in technical writing. She was going to classes at night to get a certificate. And as she did that, after she finished the classes, they decided, okay, we've decided you must be serious. And then she was able to get a job. So there are times when the certificate is important. Okay, here's another one. Get this a lot. I know especially Andrew hears this a lot probably. What pay is normal in tech writing? I'm not going to give you numbers because that's hard. It really depends on the company, but I am going to give you some general guidelines, and this won't be a great surprise probably, but if you become a content writer, copy editor, someone who does most of your work like in Microsoft Word or something like that, that kind of thing, it's gonna pay not a great deal. If you get a lot on the technical side of things, so if you know a programming language, API documentation and design, if you know docs as code approach, GitHub command line, things like that, or another specialized subject, because it doesn't have to be programming, although there's a lot of that, especially in the Bay Area here. And I know not everybody here is even in the Bay Area here, so you have to see what's in your area. But if you have a specialized subject that you know really, really well, and they need tech writers for that, like the medical field, for instance, is another one, then that can pay a lot of money, okay? Because it's your technical knowledge and the fact that you can write anything about it really can pay a lot. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of focusing on the technical side. Granted, not everybody needs to make a lot of money. Maybe you're in your family, your spouse makes a ton of money and you're like, yeah, I'm just bored. I want to have a job. So it's like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be the high paying one. Maybe you want to be a content writer and you're like, I hate programming. I don't want to look at code. I don't want to look at any of that stuff, you know, then it's still a cool job. It's not the high paying job, but you know, that's out there. Okay, those are my two questions. Now, where to find jobs? With the LinkedIn account, they come looking for you, so that's cool. You know, you don't even have to find them. They'll actually reach out to you. And I'm getting every day or two, I'm getting somebody who's reaching out to me and asking, hey, do you want to work for us? As a matter of fact, right before this meeting, I had to say to somebody else, yeah, no, I like my job at Amazon on LinkedIn. So that's really helpful, but you have to beef that thing up. A good recruiter who knows the area, like lives in the area would be good, knows the business and has connections with actual companies. So like I said, the two that I could recommend are on this call. So good recruiters, it's a great way to get started. And some people, they just want to stay with that because, you know, they don't want to stay at one company for 20 years. They would like a 6-month job here and a 3-month there, and they want to move around, you know, so recruiter is really good, but not just any recruiter. Connections through STC meetings, like we're asking, hey, who's hiring and that sort of thing. Connections through LinkedIn, because you make connections there, or just friends that you know. Write the Docs Slack channel, and again, I'll have that listed later in my my page of reference material. Apply directly to companies you like. For example, Amazon.com, .jobs, .com, should be .com/jobs. Should be, wait. No, Amazon.jobs. See where this goes. Oh no, you're right. It's Amazon.jobs. Yeah. Okay. Back to her. How do I even do this?
I think we need to get back to PowerPoint first.
Yeah, well, see, I'm using two screens. I'm on PowerPoint,
Oh, okay.
so I'm trying to figure out how to make it cast to the other screen. And maybe if I do, no, it won't let me do that. Ah, there we go. Okay, the technical side. Did I get over this? Yeah. Okay, the technical side. Methods and tools to get you there. First of all, you need to have a plan. Oh, by the way, I got carried away with these fly-in things, so you're gonna see a lot of that. Sorry about that. Make a resume, and you're going to focus probably, so it depends on if you have some experience. Some of you have experience, some of you have a lot of experience, so you're going to be mostly focusing on experience. But if you don't have experience in that, you're going to focus a lot on skills and tools and see if you can get a little bit of experience here or there. Make an incredible LinkedIn profile, which you'll always be working on, and consider making a portfolio website. I actually did one of these talks at STC before, just on how to create a portfolio website. So I have some info on my website about that from that talk, like the slides and resources that I actually gave at that talk. Another one, learn stuff, right? Learn new things. And every time you learn something new, something technical, try to demonstrate that you know it on your portfolio page. I will go into a little more detail about that later. Matter of fact, I'll show you some of that. And then you add that information to your resume, LinkedIn, and portfolio. Okay. Apply for jobs. Goes without saying. So my schedule. For 5 months, I was without work. Okay, for 5 months, I was desperately looking for a technical writing job. And so this is what I did. I'll just tell you what I did. I submitted resumes and I customized cover letters. By the way, if you're going to send something to a specific job, you should customize your cover letter so that it matches the job description point by point with your experience. So your resume might be a little more generic. You'll just have, this is my experience, this is what I can do, whatever. But on the cover letter, your job really is to match point by point each thing they're asking for from the job description with something that you have done in your experience or something that you know or have learned, right? So that everything on their list in their job description, you've got. So that's kind of what you do on a, I mean, it makes it, taking cover letters takes a little longer to do it, but that really, that's going to help you get the job. Again, like I said, learn new things. Oh, and I would, by the way, I would do resumes and cover letters 1 to 2 hours a day. These are general numbers, but I'd learn new things and update my resume, LinkedIn, portfolio, website 3 to 5 hours a day. Altogether, really, mostly, I did about 5 hours a day, 5 to 8. But more often I found I did about 5 because it's exhausting. And I make contacts a lot through LinkedIn. Anybody I could reach out to that I know, any way I can. So making contacts, but that's basically what I did. And what I did is I decided that finding a job was my job. That was my job. This is what I do. I look for a job. I didn't have to go, I wasn't working somewhere else at the time. It wasn't something I was doing on the side. It was, I had to do this. And so my job was finding a job, and this is how I did it. So you have to take care of yourself in certain ways when you do this. And especially I'm going to talk about just the mental side of it. Don't get overwhelmed. Just do one thing at a time. It's like, this is the next thing I'm learning, and just focus, just do it, just go until you've got that thing, like you understand it. And then it's like, cool. Okay, now let's go to the next thing, and just do one thing at a time. And I think this next part is especially important. At the end of the day, if you did this stuff, if you've been working like 5 hours and you actually did one of these things or all of these things, you have a right to feel good about yourself. That's a good day's work. So, you don't have to feel, so go take a break, go for a walk, go do something fun like you would from a regular day's work, because that was your job. That's, how I was able to survive this thing anyway. The question is really, how do you know what you're supposed to learn? This is what I did. See, like I said, Indeed is terrible, but it is useful for this. What you can do is you can go into, their search things. So, into Indeed, and I would technical writer in quotes, and then I would write the name of a skill or something that, that I thought would, comes up a lot. So I put that in there and see how many hits do I get. In this case, there's 13 jobs. This is actually a real one I just did like a week ago. 13 jobs, technical writer, Java in San Jose. So it had the actual phrase technical writer exactly like that, and the word Java somewhere in the description. And the only reason I even started looking like for Java was because I just started reading through job descriptions and seeing what came up the most for the kinds of jobs I wanted, and I kept seeing, they keep asking for Java. They keep asking for, API documentation. They keep asking for whatever. And I started writing some of these words down. Some of them I didn't even know what they were. Like, I'd never heard of this, but I'm going to write it down anyway. And then I just did this, and I wanted to find out, okay, so how often do these things come up? So I'll show you what I came up with. Hopefully this works okay. Do you see the website thing here?
Yep, we can see just fine.
Awesome. Okay. So I did this for the presentation on, doing a portfolio as well, but I just updated, you'll see what, 3/30/2021, so the end of last month. And so literally for the San Jose area, because, that's what I was looking at, I put up here. For the San Jose area, there were 120 tech writing jobs. Great. Okay. XML came up 23 times, Agile 22 times, Jira. Hey, I'll tell you one thing you do as a tech, when you're trying to get to be a technical writer, you're constantly looking up, what does that mean? I never heard of that. What is this thing? And I just go to Google and look it up. And it's like, sometimes it's kind of complicated. Sometimes it's not. So for instance, Agile, dude, it's the Agile Manifesto. It's like a 3-minute read. It's just like a philosophy. And you want to know more about it? Well, yeah, there's like, Scrum and, various ways it's done. But I mean, the main idea, it's not brain surgery. Whereas some things, FrameMaker would take a while to learn. Dida, I did like in a week, or maybe it was like 3 days. I can't remember. Some of these things, though, are very, Markdown. You could do it in an afternoon. It's not that hard. And you know what's cool about it? You learn Markdown, there are websites to do this. You learn it in an afternoon. You're like, dude, that's so easy. And then you create something with it, and then you put it on your portfolio website. And then, well, now I know that I can do it. So I might as well mention that in my LinkedIn, on my resume. It's on my portfolio website. Let's go on somewhere else. So let's go in order. And some of these things you're going to decide, I don't want to learn this, like I don't want to learn Illustrator. I don't want to deal with Photoshop. I don't want to be one of those guys who does a lot of stuff with images, which I totally get that. So you find out, because some of these things you'll find kind of clustered together in certain kinds of jobs that expect you to do a lot with images. Great. They'll have Photoshop come up a lot and Illustrator, because they tend to work together. InDesign, maybe. And then things that are more of a docs as code deal. Well, now you're going to be dealing with, well, it depends. You could be dealing with data, or maybe just Markdown and let's see, well, they want you maybe know some Scrum and whatever, some other things here, Git for sure, GitHub. Anyway, I have programming languages down here. I did the same thing, and XML, JavaScript, a bunch of things, Swagger, whatever, all this stuff I've updated. Hey, you can do this for whatever you want. This is just mine, and you'll have access to this, but I just looked at what came up the most often and what I can easily learn. Like, for instance, Jira, okay, it's a little hard. You can see some videos on YouTube maybe about it, but the truth is you have to pay for it. But maybe they have a free, trial version. I'll talk about that. Let me move on to, well, let's see, that's in a couple of slides from now, but okay, let me move on. As I said, I didn't have experience. Nobody wanted me without experience. Really hard, okay? I went to interview after interview that they just say, all I want is experience. It's like, how many years of experience do you have? That's it. That's the only question. That's the one they want. And it's like, they don't care that you could do everything on the list. They just want experience. For those people, you have to try and find a way to prove it. And some of them just won't give you a chance. The best thing you could do, and the best thing I knew that I could do, was get as many skills as possible that I can prove as much as possible. And then if somebody can get me in there, like a recruiter, or somebody who, works there, or maybe they're open, then I can get a start. Let's talk about, and let me see if I can even get back to it somehow. If I go, okay. All right. Let's go to, whoops. A tale of two resumes. Do you see that? Okay. Did I change it? Okay. All right. These are two of my actual resumes. Okay. The one on the left here is a skills focused resume. That's what I had to offer. I did not have experience in this. So I went with tools, and probably this is about the best one I was able to come up with during that time. I had probably 15 different versions of my resume over time. I added things, changed, modified, came up, I always was trying to improve it. One thing I was doing, right, each time I was learning something, I was adding something, coming up with ideas to improve it. So I had what I was the most confident with, right? So I put a very confident section, and then I have, that continues, and then somewhat confident, and then some experience. I tried to put towards the top of each of these the things I thought would catch someone's eye the most, because the truth is somebody's probably not going to read all this. They'll take a quick glance at it and say, I don't see what I'm looking for, and move on. Or actually they'll have their software do that work for them. But I wanted to be quick that if you took a glance, you'd see, things as well. But hey, some people saw that and they thought that's a great idea. Some people saw it and said, it doesn't look like you really have a focus or know what you're trying to do. So I had good and bad to it, but it was the best I knew to do at the time, because all I had was skill, and I didn't know. Here's the other thing that people will give you advice, great advice, to know exactly what you want and go for it. When you're trying to get a new job, you don't know what you want. So, you're going to try things and find out, I don't want to do that. So I tried some of these things. I learned, did it in, about 3 days or something. and Adobe FrameMaker. I got a trial version, and I created something. I'll show you something with that in a minute. But I decided later when I actually got a job, I said, I don't ever want to do DITA. I don't ever want to use FrameMaker in my life. So I just took it off my portfolio website altogether. You can't find it there unless you know exactly where to look now. Later on, okay, so I mean, that kind of got me, some interviews, but I didn't get anywhere hardly. Later though, after I'd worked, so that got me into Google, okay, with a lot of help from Paul Gustafson. With that kind of stuff, they eventually got me, an interview, and I got into Google. But then summary of skills, right? On the right hand side, this is after I'd worked at Google, and now I'm looking for, well, this is basically what got me a job at Amazon. Okay, so on the left hand side, that's what got me a job at Google. Right hand side, the one at Amazon. Now, the one at Google was just a temp job. So it wasn't, I couldn't even get a job there, like, for real. But after I'd had some experience, the whole time I'm on that temp job, like, seriously, I am documenting every single thing I'm doing, like everything I'm doing. And anything that's open to the public where they can click on it and see the site, I put it on my resume. I put it on my portfolio. I put it on my LinkedIn. Anything otherwise, any kind of thing I could demonstrate a skill like coding, which I did some coding in Java, Python, and JavaScript. Click on it, you can go and see it online, whatever. Anyway, this has a lot more employment history, and you only see the top of it, but you have something you can click on and you'll see a big chunk of documentation I did for Google. At this point, I'm really focused because really, I don't want to do, FrameMaker. And I don't want to, and I'm not going to mention little things like, oh, I know how to use Notepad or Adobe Acrobat or something like that. It's like, really, I want to show the most technical and the kinds of things I want to get into. So that's what I did on that. It got a lot more refined, a lot more focused because, well, that's what I knew I wanted to do at that point. Hey, Rachel, can you tell me really about when I should stop so I know how fast to go here?
You're fine, Aaron. Keep going.
No, really, give me some idea, please.
Tell you what, let's go till about 8:20 and then we'll stop for questions.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna triple speed here. Okay, okay, an online portfolio is really helpful. It's a way you can prove what you've done or what you can do, show off programming samples with notes about how to use it, API documentation that you've done, some DITA work using FrameMaker if you want to do that, a place where you can list your skills for the samples. Okay, I have to show you my website for a couple of things. Here's my online portfolio now, okay, which is different than it was. Let's go to the portfolio part. That's my blog section. Okay, so you're seeing it, right? Okay, great. Resume up here. You have LinkedIn. Here's GitHub. I did put some code out there. I had to learn how to use GitHub first. Amazon, because I wrote some books too. But then, okay, summary of skills. Now at this point, it's way more focused, just like my resume is. But there was a time when I had a lot here, more like what was on that resume. APIs using Open API. So what I did is, I can click on any of these and you can see like the weather API. So I clicked on that and I actually put this on my website. So it shows my current latitude and longitude, the current temperature, wind speed, humidity. All these things are right now live from a weather API. And then I documented how I did it. Now they have on, the openweathermap.org, they have the basic information. This is how you use it, but I'm actually telling them, how do you actually put this in your code into a website to use it? So that I'm trying to find anything I can document, right? So I actually did this. I just said, oh, and you would use this JavaScript. I had to look up how to use that. I don't know JavaScript that well. I had to find somewhere that showed that stuff. And I said, oh, okay, this is how you do it. And I basically just put this in steps, the parameters, all the stuff I had to figure out what I was doing. But once it was done, I'm like, dude, somebody else could do this. This is documenting something. Okay, because I had to show that I could do it without having a job. Got it? That's hard to figure out how to do that. So I did that. I did that for that. I did that for some other things here. And I also add things like, some programming. In which case I have like Java, Python, and JavaScript. Like Java is the thing I know the most. So I did some small code practice things, as well as the bigger thing I did many years ago. And again, I've got it on, GitHub, I've got it on SourceForge, but, here's the actual thing. It's an actual app that runs on your screen to figure out, how much credit card interest you would have to pay, depending on how fast you're paying and interest rate and such like that. It does compound interest for you. Okay, fine. The other thing I did is, on the same portfolio, I have a list of all of the skills that I have on this one website. So API tutorial, books I published, a white paper. I put them all in alphabetical order. White paper I wrote for a startup I just did it for free. You're just somebody I knew that was doing like any experience I could get. So I have a white paper out there. Did it in FrameMaker, right? So let me show you this one because it's kind of cool actually. How to build a computer. Like I said, I knew some tech stuff, and it wasn't, I knew how to do this. So anything I needed to look up, I did that. It's pretty cool because, see, I used FrameMaker to make this, and once it's made to be able to make docs like this, and so I got pictures from online and such, and basically showed it. I created a tutorial, right? How to build a computer, and I created it in several different formats using InDita, but it was using FrameMaker. FrameMaker has a 30-day trial, right? So I didn't pay anything for 30 days. For that 30 days, I seriously focused on FrameMaker. I saw videos, I played with it, I saw more videos. They have stuff on their website to learn it. I want, because it came up a lot in searches for work. So I'm just looking for a job. Didn't know if I'd like it. I just thought, hey, I'm going to learn whatever I can that'll get me a job. I did that. Later, when I got a job at Google and I didn't have to use FrameMaker, I decided I really wouldn't want to. So I took it off my website. Basically, you can't find this unless you know the URL. You won't be able to find it if unless you search for it or something. But back to that list of skills, I have a lot of things on here. Self-publishing guide. Again, since I self-published some books at Amazon, I thought, well, that took time to figure out how to do. So I created this, how to do it. It's just a big tutorial of all I did with various tools, mostly Microsoft Word, and I forget the other names of some of the other things I had to use. And you can get it as a PDF, but how to format it so you have it, publish it, something there. Here's something. Andrew Davis will like this one. I did a proposal he actually got me an interview that was actually kind of cool. And they ended up rejecting me, but they wanted me to do this big proposal for them for the interview. So I did a bunch of research, did this proposal. I did not get the job. And I thought, well, okay, as long as I don't have anything like that's, proprietary, top secret information in there, I just put the actual proposal on my website because it shows that I have done research. And so I have a big PowerPoint and all the rest. And it's like, I was just using whatever I could to my advantage. Okay, anyway, and then I have everything organized by skills down here. And I have, even this list, it's in restructured text. I've never written another thing in restructured text in my life. I hate it. But converted to HTML using Sphinx, which was a pain to install. But I figured out how to do it, and I made this thing, and I demonstrated it's possible. So I created this whole thing. Okay, where am I? Whoops. Okay, back to, yes. Okay, if you want to actually learn, wait, no, that go too fast. No, I already told you all that. Yeah, so, yeah, so ways to learn programming, because I was going to try and tell you the tech stuff, okay? If you want to learn how to program, and it comes up a lot in these things, the thing I found was the best was, okay, Udemy has these great classes that are seriously, if you go full price, like $200, but they have massive sales, like 90% off or whatever, like every week or two, like seriously, like all the time, like every week or two. And so you can always get something for $20 or less. And we're talking a class that's like, you know, so long. I mean, it could take you months to go through this class or whatever if you did every single thing in it. But they have a Java master, programming master class for software. The guy's awesome, amazing. And so I went through a bunch of that. I loved it. Learned a lot. Books. So there's this lady, Jamie Chan, wrote these books. Python. Learn Python in one day and learn it well. She also wrote Java. Learn Java in one day and learn it well. These are short books. Go through all the main things in a programming language. You can try everything out. Actually has real examples. You can play with things, has little puzzles for you to figure out how to, how do I write this thing? Really good. I would say those are terrific. And if you want the cheaper version, actually they're both cheap, but if you want the kind that you could basically copy and paste things if you want or whatever, you just get the Kindle version, and you can actually go to just on your, you don't have to have a Kindle. You can just, they have a website version, right? So it's like, I can't remember if it's kindle.com or amazon.kindle.com or something, but you can do it just on your screen, whatever book. And so it's a good way to go. Phone apps. I used one called Solo Learn that I absolutely loved, but now they've made it to where you have to pay for features that I had for free at the time. So the next one I found looks pretty good. It's called Code Mirai, right? Kind of samurai. Code Mirai. But phone apps, there are about a zillion programming phone apps. So play around and find some, because I would do it on the bus or whatever. I would just be like always learning programming. And then there are about 1 million websites for any programming language. Again, go with what's most in demand that you would want to do. Python is a little easier than Java, but Java is more in demand in certain places. So I started with Java and then went to some Python later. Other things to learn. Git. If you want to do docs as code, Git. This githowto.com, that is the place to learn Git. I'm just telling you, it is amazingly just super short, interactive, brilliant. All this stuff, it's going to be, I'll have it for you with links and everything later, but that's the place. Dita, this is the place to learn Dita. It's a free course. Yeah, I went through it, and like I said, about maybe 3 days. Maybe it took me a couple more, I can't remember, days. Went through the whole thing. Interesting. I understood the basic idea of of Dita, and it's really, really well done. Documenting APIs. If you've never heard of this guy, Tom Johnson, he's not around anymore. I used to work with him. There were 3 of us in our tech writing group. Tom Johnson was one of them. He actually was the one who said, "Hey, we're hiring here at Amazon," and so I worked with him for a few months before now. We traded places. He's working for Google, and he moved to Washington. So, some of the stuff I told him about Google, he said, now I see what you're talking about. But I'd rather be writing.com as his website, blog and such, but he has the most amazing API, documentation, free course. So my thing for learning something, I didn't mention this, but as far as I can learn anything, the secret for me is the number 3. I can learn anything pretty much if I go through the whole thing 3 times. So his course, which takes like a while, like took me at least 2 or 3 weeks of every day, all day, to get through, at least. I did it 3 times. And at the 3rd time, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this. And I'll show you what I had a problem with, because this is a common question." A note about contributing to open source. People will tell you, someone might be on this call actually, that the way to get a job is to contribute to open source. I'm going to say, if you already have been a programmer for many years, this may totally work for you. Otherwise, you may have a real problem, like I did. Because the truth is, you have some serious roadblocks you would run into. First of all, for anything technical enough to where you actually could get any work in it, nobody is available to hear you scream. You're mostly you're trying to figure it out on your own. And so really they just expect you actually to read the code, figure it out, and write some documentation. Well, again, that takes, even if you were a full-time like programmer, that takes months to get to know a real set of documentation to be able to contribute anything, to even understand what's happening. So the expectation is you'll read the code and figure it out for most of them, not most of them, because the truth is they can't tell you all the things that you would need to know. The docs they want you to improve are so bad, you probably can't even install the software on your system in the first place to start trying to run the code. So it comes to be a real problem. Yeah, so that's what I said, you can't even install it. And you don't even know, they want you to improve the docs, but you can't even understand what the docs are saying anyway in the first place. So I went back and forth with Tom Johnson about this, and even though he recommends it on his site, and I'd rather be writing in the API documentation course, I said, yeah, I'm having these problems. And we had a series of emails back and forth. And I said, these are my problems. I listed them out. And he finally said, you're right. This is a lot harder than I thought. And it would take months for anybody to have any idea what's going on here. Well, the truth is I need a job like yesterday. So I can't spend months just, trying to figure out one program, maybe to get my foot in the door. So anyway, this is actually what Tom Johnson did. See, he doesn't tell people this usually, but this is actually what he did, was what I did. So what I did is I took some APIs, I wrote tutorials. I actually showed you one of those on my website for how to implement each of them into a web page. Okay. I also wrote a guide for how to self-publish a book on Amazon, just because I've done it. Now, I say another person, it's actually Tom Johnson wrote, because he was learning JavaScript, he wrote his own little tutorial for basically how to write JavaScript. And that's how he got his first, how he got in the door. So he didn't do it by using anything open source either. By the way, I have a picture of somebody changing a tire here. And here's why. When I was first looking for a job, I ran into a guy who said, oh yeah, I know a guy who just got a job in tech writing. Let me put you in contact with him. I did. He got a job after writing, it was about a 3-page short little thing on how to change a tire. And he got a job in technical writing. I'm like, that's not real. I mean, I put, months of hard work in it and nobody will give me a shot. So it was like, wow, this is weird. But again, the technical writing I got into pays a lot better than, the stuff that's going to be simple, instructions. Okay, yes, I am ready for questions now. We good? Anybody have questions or?
Yeah, I got one. Okay, no. Should I go? Okay. I just saw, the open source thing. I went through Tom Johnson's API course too. Well, it was almost a year and a half ago. Oh, yeah, and it was amazing. And I tried to do open source stuff, and it was like, it seemed impossible. So
you have a background in programming, is that correct?
No.
You don't. Oh, okay.
No, no, that's the other guy. His name is, I think,
okay.
Matt, I think.
Oh, right.
I did take a couple of coding for writers courses. I took one on Udemy, and I think I took another one. Both of them were taught by Peter Greenbaum. So who's a teacher.
That's the guy. Yep.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah, I liked his courses. I mean, I've probably forgotten about 80% of it because I was doing a lot of this stuff. I did I would say a half-assed version of what you did about 2 years ago. Then some other things happened, a change in jobs and then COVID. So I'm sort of getting back into it now. But my question is, how many API samples do you think you would do? I mean, I sort of have one, and I need to build it out more, and then maybe I do another one, or should I really do 3 or 4? Or?
I mean, I wish. The thing is,
doesn't matter.
I'm not an expert. I don't really know. What I would do is I would do 2 or 3 if you can that are kind of nice. And then, because you may not want all your eggs in one basket, show some programming samples that you do, or were some like some, I did a bunch of simple programs, like really simple, try and show off several skills, I mean, so like I said, when I put a list of these are the skills that seem most in demand, and I just started going down that list because I don't know which one's going to get my foot in the door, but I would start with the things that show up the most often. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to get into API writing, so I did like 4 things dealing with that, and then I did programming, and then I did a lot of other areas. But yeah, I just wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Aaron. After, first of all, that was just probably the best presentation I think I've seen, period. Amazing work.
Oh, thanks.
Not to mention, it just appears like you had a lot of time on your hands to get a lot of this done.
I did. I had an advantage that way. Like I said, not everybody has that. Like, you don't have that advantage.
No, I do not. So, does it sound to me like this might be something that if I'm going to attempt something like this, I need to probably do this in stages or in chunks? Would that probably be the best way to go about it? Because like you said, I'm not a person that's got, 5 hours a day, maybe on the weekends.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And you have a life too, so, I couldn't tell you. I mean, your situation is not my situation. So I don't know. I would say definitely one thing is, people like, Andrew Davis on the call here, Paul Gustafson, those people who they have actual resources on their website that are helpful. And if they can get you started in something, I know you have some past experience with tech writing, but with the more technical things, it definitely pays more. And I really enjoy it a lot more. So, you keep talking to people like that and seeing what's in demand, maybe what they might think. And, whatever, try somewhere, start somewhere.
Yeah.
You just have to keep moving forward. It would be hard if I was, trying to work and do this at the same time. It would be hard. It totally would be. I'm not even a night person, so really just doing this for me, that's rough. After my job, I'm just tired usually.
Okay. By the way, Joy, was that last chat towards me or?
I think that was more a story towards the group regarding one person who sent in a poem as a writing sample, and I kind of love it. It called "The Interview from Hell." The poem was logical and well structured, using clear, concise language. I kind of love that. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was good.
I'm gonna put I told you I had a resource document there. It's just a Google Doc, so it's in the chat now, everybody. And I'll later on, probably tomorrow, I'll put it on my website. But everybody see that? It's just, you should all have access. It has a lot of links and various things on there. And by the way, let's see, did I put, yeah. And at the beginning of that doc, actually, I have my contact information. Here's the thing, for me, it was really hard getting in technical writing. And I find that is the case for lots of people. So I really feel for people who are trying to do this, because like I said, they want experience, but they won't give it to you, which is just absurd to me. And they also don't care if you get a degree in it. It still doesn't matter. They still want the experience. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that it would be this way. So, and like I said, even programmers who you would think would have an in, well, okay, but then they want to know you're not going to go back to programming, like my boss, who had to take a technical writing class to kind of prove that they weren't just going to go back to programming. So really strange. So if I can help, you can email me or whatever, or on LinkedIn, connect with me, because I really like to help people with this kind of thing. If I have anything anything I can do to help.
Okay, well, Aaron, you will definitely be hearing from me. That's for sure.
Okay, sure, great. Any other questions or comments?
I have a comment about getting a certificate or some kind of training in technical writing. because I did that because my resume looked so weird before I got into technical writing. I had fallen ass backwards into jobs that I had to like cram on the side to be qualified for. And so to kind of normalize my resume, I took the UC Berkeley technical writing certificate program. And I actually, because I had always been the guy in the office who knew how to write and ended up doing the docs as an engineer. I thought, oh, I won't learn much, but it'll help me look normal. And I learned a lot. So even if it doesn't help you get jobs, it will make you a much better technical writer to learn sort of the language and the style and the religious active voice and the short sentences and the just everything about it. It's not wasted.
Yeah, that's why I said really, especially if it's something you really need to focus on the writing side of things, then that's good. I'd been an English teacher for 15 years, so I had some experience writing lessons and just writing in general. I published 5 books, so I've done a lot of writing, but it was the technical side, and nobody even cared if I could write, mostly, other than they just looked at a sample. But yeah, being able to write clearly, being able to information architecture, all kinds of things are involved in it. How to work with subject matter experts. There's a lot you can learn, and some of those things you can learn on the job fine, and some of them you need some practice with writing maybe, or whatever.
Aaron, I'd like to thank you for the pre-publicity and to confirm everything you said. Is very much harder now to get tech writing work than it ever has been. And hiring managers are under more pressure to pick the right person the first time.
Yeah.
For those who have experience, the upside is prices are rising. For those who don't have experience, there's more fear and doubt than ever getting in. So you do have to work extremely hard to make the best use of the opportunities that you are given. And I'll just be candid here. The best way in when you're starting out is not through a recruiter, because we add to your cost, and we are a deterrent to a hiring manager saying, I'm hiring somebody without experience and I'm paying a recruiting fee. No thanks. We can advise, and Paul and I play the long game, and maybe you'll remember us fondly. We're hiring or cloning yourself or leaving that job. So we're happy.
I think that's good advice, Andrew. And I also think that, the best way to get onto a writing team is sometimes by supporting a writing team. So we have a couple of people that came to us that were very light on experience, who we have in project management, almost administrative roles. And it actually reminds me of the first job I had out of college, where I had an engineering degree, but I had no engineering experience, but I got hired as what the company I went to work for had a role called a paratechnical assistant. And it was like being a paralegal, except instead of working for lawyers, you worked for engineers. And I did all the busy work. I formatted slides, and I did QA of internal releases, and I did some internal documentation and organized the files on the server, and whatever they could think of to keep me busy, I did. And after about 6 months, I was an engineer. I became a member of the technical staff, and that kind of put me on the path to kind of a professional career that was headed in the direction that I wanted to go at the time. And we do see, and we do sometimes field requests from teams where we've placed writers or have thought about it, where, hey, do you have anybody who's trying to be a writer who is can help us, kind of get some of the admin work done? Because another truism is that there's always more work than the tech writers can get to. So if you can get onto the team and get access to the work, you will find a way to contribute. and to prove your mettle. And that will lead to us like, hey, we can't have this guy doing project management or admin stuff. We need to get him, some of this stuff, and we'll get more done sooner. So that's another way in to this field. But it does tend to be a bit of an orphanage. The people that come here come from lots of different places with lots of different backgrounds.
Did I just see something about a free course just now?
I think there's something in the chat that
yeah, it's actually, it's on the page I shared with you as well, but somebody was asking about, Sandra was asking about, a technical writing course. And this is actually through my colleague at work mentioned that she took this. Evidently, it's free if you don't get the certificate at the end. So you'd have to decide if the paper matters to you. But she also told me nobody had ever asked if she had a certificate in technical writing in any interview. Nobody ever cared. So if you just want the knowledge, this is kind of an intro to computer science, but it's a lot of the basic background stuff of like the technical stuff that you would want to know and she said it was really helpful to her. So it's not all the writing thing, but it's that's right, it's just the basics of the technical.
Okay. That was extremely informative to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
I would +1 that course as someone who had no technical background. And I also just put in the chat a few terms for some folks, like maybe you're committed to technical writing, but if you do want to work in tech and get a pretty decent tech salary, it's not as much as an API documentarian, but you might try looking for roles with some of those terms that I just put in there. That's how I got my job, and I've since gotten a promotion and I'm getting the opportunity to write other things. So it could be a way of getting in if you have no coding experience.
Thank you.
And to kind of add on to some of that a little bit, sometimes you have to come at it in unorthodox ways. As most of the folks who were part of the SFA chapter know, when I first came, I was still just a customer service agent and just looking to get in the field, even though I had a certificate. One of the things I did was I knew that we had department documentation that I was like, oh, how do they work on this? Went to my supervisors and found out other agents in my department were working on it. So I was like, oh, hey, can I be on the team? Would that be all right? And they fought to get me on it. And I eventually did some work on that I could talk about in my job interviews. So that helped me immensely. It's one of the reasons that I have a job at the moment.
Right.
Yes. Do we have any other questions?
One thing you mentioned that nobody's ever asked about a tech writing certificate, and more my sort of semi-snarky brain wants to respond. How many people that are doing hiring, whether it be hiring managers or HR people or product managers or team managers, even know that there's such a thing as a technical writing certificate or degree? I think it surprises a lot of people who come across it, and not just in tech. I mean, for any company anywhere that needs content development done. That said, being one with an actual degree, I just know that the things that they teach are more than just about writing. There's a lot of focus on the technology and to prepare you to work in your chosen field. And the good thing about getting a degree is that colleges also have connections with a lot of companies who can get you jobs out of school if you're going to get a degree, and they work really hard to make sure that their graduates get work when they're done.
So my understanding from what I've gathered, not just from today, but then from some of the other information I took in, is that, you kind of have to be an SME going in. You have to, focus on a particular subject, learn all about it, become an expert in it, and use that to be your first stepping steps just to be able to get in. I recently started doing this online course with Practicum, and I'm basically I just wrote some code just the other day, and this is more like web development with them more than technical writing. But I'm learning that you have to use different types of ways to get into technical writing, whether it be APIs, whether it be web development. It just depends. And tonight I learned so much from this, okay, because now it's not just me. I'm gathering this information for. I have some friends that they're like me. They don't want to do what they're doing anymore, and they want to shift. They want to go into tech now. And so this has been very eye-opening to me, Aaron. Again, thank you. I'd like to stay longer and learn more, but I'm a husband, father, so my daughter made me dinner, so I gotta go in there.
No worries, Richard. Good to have you here. Now, before I forget,
Yeah,
Jim,
thanks,
you had
Richard.
something to say as well.
And Paul and Andrew, I remember you particularly as well. Do you remember speaking with me?
I do.
Okay, all right.
I do.
All right, yeah.
I'm unmuted now.
Yeah. So just so you know, no, I have not gone away.
I'm glad.
Yeah, just had some stuff I had to deal with, and I'm still dealing with it. But I'm back in the fray, and I'm gonna keep at it. So, and I hope,
As Aaron discovered, persistence wins.
Persistence.
Yes, it does.
That first point that Aaron made is worth a lot, right?
Right. And I'll tell you something. I look forward to working with every last one of you guys at some point. Okay. So,
excellent.
Have a good evening.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Have a good dinner.
Bye, Richard.
Yeah.
Congrats on the book again.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Night.
One other quick thing, if I may, and it ties
Before you go,
into-
Chuck, I would like to get Jim in real quick because I know he's been patiently waiting.
Yeah, this is a great talk. I guess I'm wondering, in terms of making a big career change, how much do you talk up what you did before, right? Because I had the last job for like 20 years. I had all kinds of stuff, but then, I'm trying to get some new experience, but then, it kind of looks like, oh, I'm still this other person, right? Especially on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, list your, here's your work experience. Oh, here's this job I did before that I didn't do anymore. And this is kind of blank up at the top, other than say, volunteer contributor at some place. But how do you show that you're capable, but you're trying to do something else?
I mean, I'm sure other people have good ideas about this. What I just tried, I had it on my resume, so I showed that I had some jobs in my past, because I was moving in a different direction. But I did mention, I worked with, we had it was a engineering academy at our school, and I was part of that. So I put that in there. I helped some teachers with tech support at times. So I put some things that were kind of more technical related, and to show that I had some writing experience, but I just didn't put a huge amount about all the things I did as a teacher, because that's huge all by itself. And then I actually found a friend, a guy I went to church with, who was trying to work with a startup, and we were talking, and he said, yeah, well, hey, we could use maybe a white paper for what we're doing. And so I said, I'd be happy to do that for free if I could. So that's where I wrote the white paper. And first thing I had to do is go look up what in the world is a white paper. And then I went to the library. No, seriously, everything I'm constantly, finding out about things I never heard of before. So, you're constantly looking up terminology and such, 3-letter acronyms, that kind of thing. So I went to the library here. It's that building that actually has real books in it that you can touch with your hands. And I actually got a couple of books on how to write a white paper. And actually, I remember I bought one book on my Kindle, and I just went through and found all the information I could, and wrote my first white paper, and revised it over and over and over and over until I thought, this is pretty good, and then went through them. Anyway, whatever experience I could find to add in there, because then I could add this other company, and then I could add, that it was a short-term thing or whatever, but I added it to my resume, because the more things I can put towards the top that didn't have to do with teaching, the better, really.
Thanks.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Just a comment. I think Aaron had a couple of personality and character traits that he's demonstrated on this at this event. One is just his tenacious persistence when he's going after something. That's something that I really admire about him. It was obvious the first time we met him at an STC job fair, I might add, was where we first met Aaron. Back in the days when we were going to events.
I remember that.
But it went beyond that. He also has a character.
That was our job fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was the job fair over in Berkeley. Yeah, that we actually sponsored, and Andrew sponsored too, I think.
Yes.
But
you.
we saw there are two kinds of character traits that we look for in people like Aaron, and one is something we describe it as intellectual ambition, which is more than curiosity. It's the ability to look at something brand new and want to know every last detail about it and get it. And that is a trait that the people that have been doing this work at expert support for decades, they all have it. And it's combined with a personality trait, which is just being fearless, of knowing that it doesn't matter how complicated it is or how hard it looks, you're going to get it. And Aaron's right. Most of the time, if you don't give up, eventually you will understand whatever it is that's in front of you. And those character traits, along with persistence, I think Andrew probably saw those in Aaron too when he first met him. It was just obvious that this guy was going to accomplish his goal of landing one of these gigs and have a successful career in this space. And we were just lucky to be in the right place in the right time. And we actually had the hiring manager at Google was someone that we had a relationship with. It was someone that used to be a former engineer that we helped get her first technical writing gig as well. And then she wound up getting hired at Google. And so we were able to remind her of that story. And she was especially accommodating for someone with great talent, but light on experience. So, I think you have to be technical writing is not a field that everyone is cut out for. But if you like going deep in subjects and you're fearless about learning new things, it is a great place to have a very nice career. So.
Yeah, you're always learning new things.
Absolutely.
Paul, you touched on something that I was going to mention, except I call it #ABL. Any guesses?
I got nothing done that one, Chuck.
Always be learning.
Yeah.
Fair, I can get behind that.
And I think that's a characteristic pretty much of everybody, like here in this room, and I've met in the industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Do you have any other questions?
Thank you,
All right,
Aaron.
well.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
I think we're good. I think we're good to go. But let's give one big round of applause for our speaker tonight, Mr. Aaron Redshaw, everybody.
Hey.
Yay.
Hey, thanks everybody.